comfortable? Is this season building a divine tenacity in you? A relentless spirit of not giving up? Or is it distracting you from God's purpose? Well, I hope to encourage you today. We serve the living God, one who is with you through the good and the bad, through sunny days or your darkest nights. Every season has its purpose.
Seasons. You see, God has this flow, this rhythm, a pattern, if you will, an order of things. And although in life we can experience good and bad seasons, seasons that we remember with a smile, and seasons we'd rather forget quickly. But I would like to submit to you that every season has a purpose. Every season is necessary. But the question is, how do you embrace a season when it's painful? How do you embrace a season of uncertainty, a season of challenges? How do you still believe that God is working behind the scenes when you're struggling to weather this storm? But understand that just as seasons change, your situation will change. What are you facing today in this season? It's not permanent, it's not forever. So with this in mind, the question should move from being, when will this all be over, to, what is God trying to teach me in this season? I've heard the saying that the most spectacular view for a hiker comes after the hardest climb. And oh, how true it is, because the most spectacular view of God and what He can do comes after the hardest season. The struggles of life can often be in the way that God develops our character. A little more patience, a little more humility, a little more prayer. So your struggle does not have to become your identity, but rather it should be your training ground. Have faith in this season.
This is just a season. It's just a season, that's all. It's just a season. And there's no progress oftentimes without resistance. It's just a season.
You know, I remember when we were told we would never have children. And we tried for over 5 years and we went through the process. There were many times when I was ready to put the box back in the attic and say, I can't do this. It's too hard. It's too emotionally draining. Let's not get our hopes up. But now with 2 children growing and we're raising 2 great kids, and the miracle of what God did, I'm so glad that at one point I was willing to go stand back in the doorway and let God speak into my spirit again. You have no idea what God will do if you'll stand in His doorway. Man of God, do not give up your dream. Woman of God, do not lay down in disappointment. Do not say it's over if God has not said it is over. So maybe your location today is a doorway. And if it is, be strong, be open, be willing.
God never attaches your future to the people who live your life. God never attaches your destiny to someone who leaves you. God never attaches your calling to someone who abandons you. Never put your future in the hands of someone who walk away from your life. Even if who they are is great, they are the best. Honestly, I mean, maybe it's a husband or maybe it's a wife and they left you and it wasn't your fault and you feel like, so is my life. My life is gone. Your life is not connected to those who leave you. It's connected to God who stays with you.
The Bible says for everything there is a season. It's a season. Dad used to say life comes in waves. That's just a metaphorical way of saying life comes in seasons. But the problem is, and the complexity and the wrinkle is, that we see life oftentimes in seconds. And when you see life in seconds, and yet you're designed by a God who designed them in seasons, you are prone to make some really dumb decisions. Because all you can see is the second.
Last week, as I was being dropped off at Charlotte's airport, a woman was sitting in the back seat of the car, and she was going to some kind of a meeting with the land developer or the builder, and she said that a few years ago her daughter died, and then 6 months later her husband died in a car accident, and she pretty much lost in 1 year, lost her child and lost her husband. And so I'm asking her, I'm like, how are you doing? She's like, you know what, I'm doing better than I wish. I'm doing better than I thought I could be doing. She's like, I'm actually going in to close on the land, on the house in Charlotte, but I live in California. I said, how are you? Are you into some kind of a business or anything? She's like, no. In fact, when my husband died, I had 4 children, and I knew that I could stay and cry, or I realized that God is still with me. I couldn't stop what happened to him, but at the same time God is with me. She said, I pulled myself up. I went back to school. I got an accounting degree. I didn't have money, she said, to even pay for my bills, but I had a dream that one day I will support the ministry, particular ministry that she made reference to. She says, I had a big dream from God. She says, one thing led to another. I finished the school, I got a better job. Now I invest in other states. She said, well, I don't even know nothing about investing. She says, I'm an investor now, and I build houses in Charlotte, but I live in California. That person maybe has left you, but God's purpose and plan is still active.
Now, about this time, if you're a thinking person and you like philosophy, you're thinking to yourself, yeah, but Judah, what about living in the now? That is true, because the Bible does say, hey, tomorrow will take care of itself. Today's got enough worries. Just focus on today and live out today. But the Bible always assumes that your ability to enjoy the second is because you understand it is connected to God and His control and His seasons and His grand plan. See, the reason I can enjoy my second is because I know it's connected to a bigger story, and God is in control of that story, and every season has a purpose. But I can't get tunnel vision and start living life by the second. Who lives life by the second usually? People oftentimes going through troubling times.
When God changes seasons, He does so sometimes by removing people. But if some people left you, that means that they were not supposed to be there permanently. Let them go. When you build a building, you put on scaffolding, and scaffolding is there to build a building. You cannot build a building without a scaffolding. But once you finish building a building, you remove the scaffolding. When God removes the scaffolding, it means a certain season of your life is come to an end. You cannot attach yourself to the scaffolding and say, I want that back. Scaffolding does not belong all the time in your house. There are people in your life, they come for a reason and they come for a season. And if God removes the scaffolding, listen, cry a river, build a bridge, and walk over that bridge, because you're walking into a new season.
One of the reasons we live by seconds is, man, we are so overwhelmed. We are so frustrated. We're so stretched. Life is so full. I can't see past the next second to make sense of this season.
Here's a place where some of you are going to locate yourself today. You're in a doorway. What I mean by that is that God is calling you to stand in a place where He wants to speak to you about things that you have shoved in your attic spiritually. Dreams that you have boxed up and you have put away because they did not happen on your time scale. They did not happen how you thought they would happen. And He wants to speak to you about some things that you have hidden away and put away because you're like, I can't get my hopes up about that anymore. I can't get my hopes up anymore about my son coming back to God. I can't get my hopes up anymore about my marriage being better than it is right now, so I'm just gonna cope. I can't get my hopes up about getting that promotion or that job. I can't get my hopes up about having the baby that we prayed for so long and so hard. And some of you right now today, God is saying that thing, right? That thing you wrote down years ago, that relationship that's broken, that family that has been broken apart through betrayal. I know you think it's too far gone, but would you bring it back down out of the attic? Because my word will be the final word. I will have the final say.
You know what's so beautiful about understanding the season is you can start, your words have power. You can start speaking right even in the midst of seconds that baffle you. See, that's the secret. If I can understand my seconds are connected to a bigger season, and my God controls winter and he controls fall. I prefer autumn. Falling is just a bad term. So he controls winter and autumn and spring and summer. That's my God. He works in a rhythm. He works with sustainable seasons. He does not give me more than I can bear, that in the moment that I'm feeling overwhelmed this second, I can declare, hey, this is just a season. And people will think you're in denial. No, I'm not in denial. I know the God who controls the tide of every ocean. And as sure as the tide is high and the tide is low, seasons come and seasons go. And you think I'm losing my mind, but I'm telling you right now, I'm fighting something in my body, or I'm fighting something relationally, or I've lost my money financially. But I'm here to say it's just a season, that's all. It's just a season. But how many know then there's other seasons that your statement is, this is my season. Sometimes you gotta be, this is just, it's gonna be all right. It's just a season. And then there's other times you're like, this is my season. This is our season. You know what I've found? Is sometimes both can happen at the same time. Have you been through this? I am literally right now, as we're speaking, personally, I'm going through this is just a season. It'll be like professionally, this is my season. Relationally, this is just a season. Now, this is going to be really helpful if you're going through a tough time, because if you're going through troubling times, let not your heart be troubled. Let me let you in on a little hint. One of the ways you cannot get shook and troubled and shaken to the core is not living by seconds, but choosing to live your life through seasons. And I'm gonna try to explain this to you. God works through seasons. How do you know God sees life in seasons? Look at the universe. Look at the universe. Look at the sun. Whoop, whoop. Look at the moon. Look at trees. Look at their leaves. Look at the tide. Tide's in, tide's out. Watch the waves. Look at the rhythm. Look at the soil. Look at seeds. Look at the 4 seasons. I know right now these seconds don't make sense. And if I've learned anything about God, is when you try to zero in sometimes on the seconds, they're never gonna make sense. I got seconds in my life, a whole collection of them, that I'm like, Lord, what was up with these seconds? Well, you take those seconds and you put them back in their season, and you put them back in perspective. And the older I get and the more I follow Jesus, I'm not saying it all makes sense. Who am I fooling? But I look back and go, what? I'm starting to get the hint. I think maybe he's faithful. He's true. It all amounts to him. This is okay. So you were, wow.